Hello, racing enthusiasts. Welcome back to F1 Racing, your reliable source for all the latest updates from the world of motorsports. Today, we bring you some thrilling news from the Miami Grand Prix, where Max Verstappen has once again proven his worth as one of the top drivers on the grid. After his devastating loss at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Verstappen arrived in Miami fiercely determined to come out on top, and he did. In a commanding performance, Verstappen outstripped his Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez, leaving no room for doubt as to who the superior driver was. From the moment the lights went out, Verstappen was in a league of his own, expertly navigating the challenging street circuit of Miami and leaving his competitors in his dust. With his signature aggressive driving style and unwavering focus, Verstappen showcased why he's considered one of the most talented drivers in the world. For fans of high-octane racing and edge-of-the-seat action, this victory by Verstappen is sure to be one for the history books. As the championship race between Verstappen and other drivers heats up, it's clear that Verstappen is not backing down from the challenge. So whether you're a die-hard Verstappen fan or love the thrill of high-speed racing, be sure to join us as we bring you all the latest updates and insights from the world of F1. Now, let's put some light on the news. Max Verstappen's great victory. The Miami Grand Prix in 2023 proved to be a statement race for Red Bull's Max Verstappen, who arrived at the event determined to make up for his defeat in Azerbaijan the previous week. Before leaving Florida, Verstappen made it clear to teammate Sergio Perez that he was better than him. When the weekend began, the Mexican was optimistic that he could maintain his unexpected title chase against Verstappen all season long. However, he ended the race chastened and unable to explain how his teammate had shown such crushing superiority. Verstappen's victory at the Miami Grand Prix was all the more impressive because he started the race in 9th place on the grid. The fact that he easily made his way through the rest of the field despite having poor qualifying practice was incidental to what he did to Perez. With Perez having difficulty extending his early lead, it only took Verstappen 14 laps to work his way into 2nd place. When Verstappen passed Fernando Alonso's Aston Martin, Perez knew that the race was looking difficult. After his pit stop, Perez could not close the gap on Verstappen despite having tires that were 20 laps fresher. Verstappen was extending his advantage over Perez by the time he made his pit stop with 12 laps to go. Verstappen's offset tire strategy was crucial to his victory. He raced a long first stint on hard tires, pitting 25 laps later than Perez. This allowed him to rejoin the race just a second behind Perez and pass him for the lead a lap later. The world champion gave a great performance, saying, "I just had a clean race and picked the cars off one by one." The victory was a blow to Perez's claims that he could challenge Verstappen for the title this year. It was a humiliating defeat for Perez, who started from the pole position. "We will analyze what went wrong today because we simply didn't have the pace," Perez said. Meanwhile, Fernando Alonso kept up his outstanding season for Aston Martin by finishing on the podium for the 4th time in 5 races. George Russell finished a solid 4th for Mercedes, but Ferrari had a disappointing race. With this win, Verstappen has a 14-point lead in the championship and has defeated Perez this year by a 3-2. This was by far Verstappen's most stunning victory of the season, and it will hurt Perez's feelings. With Verstappen starting 9th following a mistake in qualifying and squandering another opportunity when Leclerc crashed, the Mexican looked like a sure thing for the win. Red Bull's choice of hard tires for Verstappen for the start of the race, while the top 7 went for the mediums for the first stint, proved to be a winning strategy. Verstappen's ability to fight his way through the field while Perez struggled with the medium tires was key to his victory. In the end, Verstappen's performance in Miami was an absolutely outstanding performance. As Red Bull team principal Christian Horner put it, it was a dominant display that left no doubt about Verstappen's superiority over Perez and his ability to win races from difficult positions on the grid. Post-race discussions and interviews. So the race ended and Max Verstappen won again, but let's analyze the post-race statements of our famous drivers now. So after winning the Miami GP in 2023, Max Verstappen was asked about his thoughts on the race. He stated that he had a good race and managed to stay out of trouble in the beginning. He said, "Yeah, it was a good race. I stayed out of trouble at the beginning and then, just had a clean race, picked the cars off one by one. and then I could stay out really long on the hard tires, and that's where I think we made the difference today. And yeah, it was a good little battle with Checo at the end, so we all kept it clean, and that's the most important. And yeah, it was a great win today. When asked if it feels extra special to come from so far back and beat his teammate at the end of the race, Verstappen replied that winning a race from P9 is always very satisfying. He also mentioned that yesterday was a bit of a setback, but they kept it calm and clean today. Finally, when asked whose idea it was to do a different strategy and start on the hard tire, Verstappen revealed, "Well, we started talking about it yesterday. We didn't know what the weather would do, but we were quite confident that this would pay off, and likely it did today." Max also said that the key to his victory was his general pace and looking after his tires, which was challenging in a one-stop strategy. He emphasized the importance of staying out of trouble initially and picking up positions one by one. He also mentioned the 3 wide on the straight, which was quite entertaining. Once he was in clean air, it was about reaching the targeted lap number, which was a bit uncertain in the middle of the stint. However, he managed to push when he got close to the number and extended the gap. Verstappen also had a good battle with his teammate Sergio Perez, which was said to be free to race. He highlighted the importance of not touching each other, which was crucial in keeping the race clean. When asked about the upcoming race at Imola and the potential updates that other teams might bring, Verstappen acknowledged that they have a decent advantage, especially in the race. However, he said that it's not like they're standing still, and the others are bringing new bits. He hoped that they could keep the momentum going like they're doing now. Overall, Verstappen seemed satisfied with his performance and the team's strategy, and he hoped to continue their winning streak in the upcoming races. Now, if we talk about the race's favorite, Sergio Perez, after finishing P2 in the Miami GP, Sergio Perez was interviewed about his thoughts on the race. Despite the disappointment of not winning, he gave it his all and tried his best, saying, "I gave it all, He acknowledged that the first stint was poor, while graining on the initial pace that compromised the race. Even though they didn't have much difference on the tire, Max was exceptionally strong, and it was a well-deserved win for him. When asked about where he thinks he lost the race, Perez highlighted that the medium initially was worse than expected and compromised their pace. He also mentioned that Max had tremendous pace on the hard tire, leaving Perez to analyze what went wrong. Despite this, the crowd went wild for him, and he was gracious in defeat, acknowledging the great support he received. Although he didn't win, Perez gave it his all and put up an excellent performance, showing why he's one of the best in the sport. Despite the fight on the track, Perez mentioned that Max deserved the victory because he had the strongest car. When asked about why the medium tire was so fragile, Perez said that he wasn't sure if the rain overnight affected it more than the hard tire, but it felt quite fragile and easy to damage. He also mentioned that he couldn't look after his tires properly and that Max was clearly the fastest car out there. Perez was also asked if he discussed starting the race on the hard tire, to which he said no. Starting on the hard tire would have been a gamble, and none of them expected the medium tire to be as weak as it was. Lastly, when asked about how physically tough the race was, Perez mentioned that it was a lot easier than last year. The race was cooler this year, and his race was much more intense than last year. Overall, he felt that it was much easier. What Christian Horner thinks. So following Red Bull's commanding victory at the F1 Miami Grand Prix, Christian Horner expressed his happiness and admiration for both Red Bull drivers. Max Verstappen won the race from 9th place, passing his teammate and pole sitter Sergio Perez after pitting for medium tires. Red Bull has now secured 4 1-2 finishes from the first 5 races of 2023, making them look almost unbeatable. Horner was thrilled to see both drivers competing at the top of their game and racing each other fairly as requested by the team. He called it a great result and performance for Red Bull, adding that this is the first time they've had a start like this, and they're wondering where the other teams are. Horner commended Verstappen's strategy of starting on the hard tire, saying that his pace on the worn tire between lap 20 and 42 was crucial in matching and surpassing Perez's pace. He added that it wouldn't have mattered if Perez had started on the soft, medium, or hard tire. Verstappen and Perez had different plans and strategies, with Verstappen's hard to medium gamble paying off and then some. Horner said that Perez might have chosen that path in hindsight, but all the data indicated that medium to hard was the better and safer choice. Reflecting on the race, Horner said that Perez may have regretted not pushing harder in the first stint to create more distance between him and Verstappen. However, he also pointed out that it's easy to have 20/20 hindsight and judge things afterward. Can Red Bull face tough competition in upcoming races? Rumors are circulating that the Red Bull team might be starting to feel the heat from their competitors. In a recent interview, team principal Christian Horner hinted that Red Bull is aware of the upcoming upgrades from their rivals, and the team is working hard to stay ahead of the curve. We've made a normal step, we think, over the winter. It's more, where did Ferrari and Mercedes go? They're working hard on, I'm sure, big upgrades for Europe, Horner said. With a penalty, we have to develop the car later in the year. It's important for us to get as much fresh air as we can between ourselves and the opposition at this stage. While Mercedes has been vocal about their Imola upgrade package, Horner is more concerned with Red Bull's performance than other teams' potential improvements. However, he did suggest that he expects the competition to get more intense as the season progresses. I think you'll see from the next race, I think there's big upgrades coming, Horner said. We're just having to be super selective in terms of what we test and how we develop the car. Thankfully, the cars got off to a great start, so we're not having to solve big issues and big problems. So we're able to focus on those incremental gains. I do expect still to converge later in the year. The big question is whether Red Bull should be worried about their rivals' upgrades. The team cannot afford to let their guard down, with Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez both fighting for the championship title. Will Red Bull be able to maintain their dominance on the track, or will Mercedes and Ferrari's upgrades shake things up? Only time will tell. Conclusion. So to conclude today's video, Max Verstappen's Miami victory was a remarkable display of his skills as a driver and his ability to rise above setbacks. After struggling in the previous race in Baku, where he was beaten by his teammate Sergio Perez, Verstappen came back strong and proved that he is still a force to be reckoned with in the battle for the F1 title. Perez put up a good fight, but ultimately couldn't match Verstappen's pace and strategic gamble of starting on the hard tire. It was a championship-level performance from Verstappen, who looks to be in peak form now. In the post-race interviews and press conference, both drivers were gracious in defeat and gave credit where it's due. Perez acknowledged that Verstappen was the stronger driver on the day and that he needed to understand what went wrong to improve for the next race. Verstappen, meanwhile, brushed off the boos from the crowd and focused on the positives of his victory. Christian Horner, the Red Bull team principal, was thrilled with the result, praising both drivers for their performance and the team's dominant start to the season. With 4 1-2 finishes in the first 5 races, Red Bull is currently looking unstoppable. Horner also hinted at upcoming upgrades to the car, which could make them even more formidable. However, with rumors of upgrades from their competitors too, Horner expressed concern that Red Bull's lead may face tough competition in upcoming races. As the F1 season progresses, it will be fascinating to see how Verstappen and Perez continue to compete against each other and the rest of the field. But for now, Verstappen can savor his hard-fought victory in Miami and relish the fact that he's back on top. So thank you all for watching today's video. We hope you enjoyed our analysis of the Verstappen-Perez showdown in Miami and their team's ongoing battle for the F1 championship. It's always fascinating to see how the top teams and drivers navigate the twists and turns of each race and rise to the challenge. As this season progresses, we can expect more surprises and thrilling moments from the world of Formula One. So remember to hit that like button if you found our video engaging and informative, and subscribe to our channel for more updates and insights. Remember, the journey to the finish line is just as important as the result itself, so buckle up, stay tuned, and get ready for more heart-pumping action from the world's most prestigious racing event. We'll be back with more exciting news and analysis soon. Until then, keep your engines running and your passion for racing alive. Bye-bye.